In August 2024, three young men came together to carry out what investigators would later describe as one of the most shocking cryptocurrency heists ever committed by individuals, barely out of their teenage years. Within a single operation, they would manage to steal more than 300 Bitcoin, valued at over $230 million at the time, from a single victim in the United States. The individuals at the center of the case were Malone Lam, a 20-year-old Singaporean living between Miami and Los Angeles, Veer Chital, a 19-year-old student from Connecticut, and Jondiel Serrano, a 21-year-old associate based in California. Together, according to federal prosecutors, they formed the core of a sophisticated online criminal group that would ultimately be linked to more than $260 million in cryptocurrency thefts. Unlike the stereotypical image of cybercriminals operating from dark basements filled with advanced hacking equipment, the origins of this group were surprisingly ordinary. Investigators later discovered that the young men first became acquainted through online gaming communities, particularly multiplayer environments where players communicate for hours while collaborating or competing in virtual worlds. These platforms, including the popular sandbox game Minecraft, became the unlikely meeting point where friendships were formed. Ideas were exchanged, and eventually, criminal plans began to take shape. Over time, their conversations shifted from gaming strategies to cryptocurrency, cybersecurity techniques, and the vulnerabilities surrounding digital assets. Cryptocurrency had created an entirely new financial landscape, one where fortunes could be stored in digital wallets, protected only by passwords, private keys, and authentication codes. To experienced investors, these tools represented security, but to individuals skilled in manipulation and deception, they represented opportunity. The group gradually developed a method that did not rely primarily on traditional hacking. Instead, their strategy focused on a technique known as social engineering, the art of manipulating people into giving away confidential information. Social engineering exploits a fundamental weakness in nearly every digital security system: human trust. Rather than breaking through technical defenses, the criminals studied how to convince their targets to open the door themselves. Their operation began with careful reconnaissance. They searched for individuals who possessed significant cryptocurrency holdings, gathering personal information through leaked databases, online records, and digital footprints left across the internet. Once a high-value target was identified, the group began crafting a carefully designed scenario intended to create urgency and fear. In the case that would become the most infamous, the victim was a wealthy cryptocurrency holder based in Washington, D.C. What followed was a meticulously staged deception. One of the attackers contacted the victim while impersonating a security representative from a major technology company such as Google or Yahoo. The caller explained that suspicious activity had been detected on the victim's account and warned that hackers might already be attempting to steal the cryptocurrency stored within their digital wallets. The objective of the call was to create panic. When individuals believe their finances are under immediate threat, they often react quickly without questioning authority. The attackers exploited this psychological pressure. Posing as helpful security specialists, they instructed the victim to perform a series of security steps designed to protect their assets. In reality, those steps were slowly granting the criminals access to the victim's most sensitive information. In some cases, victims were asked to download remote access software that allowed the criminals to see their computer screens. In others, the attackers persuaded victims to reveal authentication codes, account recovery details, or private wallet credentials. By the time the victim realized what had happened, the attackers already possessed everything they needed. On August 19, 2024, the plan reached its final stage. Once access to the victim's cryptocurrency wallet had been secured, the attackers executed the transfer. Within moments, more than 4,100 Bitcoin were moved from the victim's wallet into addresses controlled by the criminals. At the time, the stolen funds were worth well over $230 million, instantly making the crime one of the largest cryptocurrency thefts ever committed against a single individual. But stealing cryptocurrency is only the first challenge. The next step is avoiding detection. Blockchain transactions are public and permanent, meaning investigators can trace the movement of funds if they know where to look. To obscure the trail, the criminals began rapidly moving the Bitcoin through dozens of digital wallets and exchanges. The funds were split into smaller amounts, transferred across multiple blockchain networks, and sometimes converted into other cryptocurrencies such as Ethereum, Litecoin, or privacy-focused tokens. This process, often referred to as peel chain laundering, is designed to break the connection between the original theft and the final destination of the funds. According to investigators, the group used additional tools to hide their identities. Virtual private networks masked their locations, encrypted messaging platforms concealed their communications, and cryptocurrency mixers blended their transactions with those of other users. For a brief period, it appeared that the operation might succeed in disappearing into the vast anonymity of the internet. But the criminals made a mistake that has undone many cybercriminals before them. They began to spend the money. In the weeks following the heist, members of the group reportedly embarked on an extraordinary spending spree. Millions of dollars were spent on luxury cars, designer clothing, jewelry, and high-end watches. Rental mansions were secured in some of the most expensive neighborhoods in Los Angeles, Miami, and the Hamptons. In some cases, investigators say as much as $500,000 was spent in a single night at exclusive nightclubs. The extravagant lifestyle quickly drew attention. Social media posts, digital transactions, and recorded conversations began leaving traces that investigators could follow. Blockchain analysts and cybersecurity researchers also started tracking suspicious movements of the stolen Bitcoin, gradually connecting digital wallets back to the suspects. The investigation eventually expanded into a large, federal case involving more than a dozen individuals, believed to be connected to the broader criminal network. Prosecutors alleged that the group had operated as a coordinated enterprise, responsible for multiple cryptocurrency thefts across the United States and internationally, stealing an estimated $260 million in digital assets. Arrests soon followed. In September 2024, authorities detained several key suspects, including Malone Lam and John Serrano. Veer Chittal later pleaded guilty to charges of fraud and money laundering conspiracy and agreed to cooperate with federal investigators. According to sentencing guidelines, he now faces a potential prison sentence of up to 24 years. The aftermath of the crime took an even darker turn when individuals believed that Chittal still controlled large amounts of stolen cryptocurrency. In a shocking development, a group of criminals attempted to kidnap his parents in Connecticut as part of a ransom scheme linked to the stolen funds. The kidnapping attempt ultimately failed, but it highlighted how quickly digital crimes can spill into real-world violence. Today, the investigation continues as authorities attempt to recover remaining assets and dismantle the wider network behind the operation. Millions of dollars in cryptocurrency, cash, and luxury goods have already been seized, but much of the stolen Bitcoin remains scattered across the blockchain. The case serves as a stark reminder of how the landscape of financial crime has evolved. In previous decades, stealing hundreds of millions of dollars would have required organized crime syndicates, complex bank robberies, or international financial conspiracies. In the modern digital economy, however, a handful of individuals armed with laptops, social engineering tactics, and an understanding of human psychology were able to carry out a crime on a scale once thought impossible. And as cryptocurrency continues to reshape global finance, law enforcement agencies now face a new challenge. A generation of cybercriminals who grew up online, who understand the technology instinctively, and who know that sometimes the most powerful tool in hacking a system is not code, but persuasion.
Oh, wow.
No way. No f***ing way.
I see it, bro.
It's on the blockchain. It's on the blockchain, bro.
Oh
No way.
my god! Oh my god!